Have you ever thought your mental health disqualified you from leading? Have you ever considered that ADHD, anxiety, or trauma might actually be a part of your leadership wiring? Have you ever wondered how to create a workspace where neurodivergent team members don't just survive, but actually thrive? Listen, if you resonate with any of those questions, then I have a powerful episode for you today. So get ready for it. What's good, Elevation Nation, and welcome to the Elevate It podcast, where it stands for inner tugging, that divine pull within us that is guiding us in self-awareness and relationships and spiritual unfolding through inner work. I am your host, Christian F. Johnson. Now let's go. Listen, today's guest is someone that the world and the workplace deeply needs right now. You can even comment that in our comment section or say that out loud right now, all right? Listen, she is a licensed clinical social worker with over 20 years of experience specializing in anxiety, depression, and trauma. Listen, her work doesn't just stop at the therapy room. This powerful being is on a mission to help leaders and organizations create environments where mental wellness isn't just a buzzword, but it is lived out day by day. Listen, recognizing that so many people have a skill but lack the support that they are able to do and be what they're called and cultivated to be. She shifted her focus to empowering leaders to build healthy workplace cultures, one that boosts well-being, retention, and real human flourishing. Here to tag team with me to discuss leading with empathy. We're talking about mental health, neurodivergence, and creating spaces where everyone thrives. Elevation Nation, please help me welcome Sarah Harris to the Elevate It podcast. Welcome.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, Christian. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. How are you today?
I am doing great. And excited and pumped up for today's conversation. I think it's going to be a great talk and one that I am hoping will destigmatize some of the beliefs that maybe people don't even realize they hold on to.
Oh, that's good right there. You're already, look, we might as well just get right into this, okay? I love it. So I have to know personally, Sarah, just like, what is your story? What led you into this work of mental health, and why is it so deeply personal and purposeful for you?
So for me, for mental health, it all started out in high school, quite honestly. I was going to be a special education teacher. I come from a long line of teachers. I have siblings that are teachers and parents that are teachers and grandparents that were teachers. And that was what I thought my path was. And then in high school, I took the introduction to psychology class for one semester, and I was hooked. Human behavior has always been an interest of mine. Way back as a teenager, I used to just love going to the airport and public places and just watching people and watching the dynamic of how they interacted with each other. And so I went through and I did all of my education and have been, as you said in the introduction, have been a practicing licensed clinical social worker for over 20 years. I run my own clinic practice here in Augusta, Georgia, and I love it. I really, truly do. But the reason why we're here today, what I have found is honestly a little frustrating and a little heartbreaking at the same time.
Okay.
I am finding so many of my clients that are, by the way, they're all adults, and so many of them that are in these workplaces where I'm giving them skills that they can utilize to manage their own mental health symptoms, and they're not in workplace cultures that cultivate that allow the flexibility and freedom for that. And sometimes it's direct. Sometimes it's no, you can't do that. But more often that it's indirect. And so that's what I'm hoping that we can talk about today, how to build that culture so that everybody's included.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think about there's often a stereotype that leaders need to be on, right? Just emotionally stable and just always, on. And so I want to know, like, what would you say to someone who feels like they can't lead or be honest about their mental health and where they are or their diagnoses or whatever that they're dealing with? What would you say to that person?
Well, I think that my first response to that would be for them to check in with themselves. How are they doing? Leadership roles, life in general, is pretty stressful. Leadership roles have another level of stressors involved in them. And so I would ask that anyone who is looking to get into a leadership role check in. How are they doing with managing their own symptoms? Are they doing therapy? Do they have a good support system? What culture are they trying to lead in? If
Hmm.
you are struggling with a mental health condition and you are in a toxic work culture, that may not mean it's not a great work culture for anybody, but especially if you are struggling with a diagnosable mental health condition, it may not be the best opportunity for leadership for you. So that would be my first thing. Check in with
Wow.
yourself, make sure that it is a good fit for you. And honestly, that's kind of my advice for everybody, but especially those that are maybe struggling a little bit with their perceptions of things.
Hmm.
Um,
That's good. Keep going.
the second thing about when you asked about being honest about it, I joke with a lot of my clinic clients that there are going to be two things on my tombstone. The first thing that's going to be on my tombstone is that we make decisions based on the information and the resources we have in the moment. The second thing that's going to be on my tombstone is the word boundaries. And when I talk to folks about being honest about their mental health, I push for them to recognize the importance of being honest with boundaries. We have to be functioning and interacting with others with boundaries. And so to me, what that means is if you struggle, let's say, with, let's put it out there, with generalized anxiety disorder, it's a very common situation for a lot of folks. Okay. It is okay, if you so choose to let your staff know that you meet the criteria for generalized anxiety disorder. That is fine. You do not need to share with everybody all of the symptoms, how you respond to them, what your therapist told you you need to do about it, all the racing thoughts that go through your head. You don't need to do that. And I think that when people hear that statement of sharing their story with honesty, they think that sharing their story with honesty means telling their whole story, and they don't have to do that. So
Yeah.
that would be my second part, is making sure that we do that with boundaries.
No, I love that. I love that. And I'm going to, just add to that also, because there's a difference between sharing and oversharing.
Yes.
I have been in that field of oversharing. As a matter of fact, even my content, I'm super wordy and different things that I deal with there. I also am one who have the anxiety, deal with the area depression. I'm on medication and so forth and so on pertaining to this. But I'm very, very public about the area of the story. And so Elevation Nation, you hear this all the time. And so I want you to hear what Sarah's saying and take that as well, far as being careful not to necessarily overshare. And I'm a unique person. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care. But I feel like there's an area for us to destigmatize a lot of these things, that we have to talk about it more. And we got to share more about where we're processing. And a lot of times, and we'll get to this at the second part of our conversation, is there's a lot of us who are leaders who are hiring and doing different things like that. And we don't have the they don't have the education. They don't understand what it is. And so it's a learning thing as well. It's not always just a I want to know what's going on in somebody's life just because I want to judge it or do this. Sometimes the
Mm-hmm.
area of getting that area of that knowledge and understanding of it. And so, like you said, just general topic of whatever it is that you have And I don't look at it as a weakness. That's just me. It's just my perspective. I don't look at it as a weakness. I look at it as actually as your superpower that you're sitting there with, because anxiety is not, first off, anxiety is not bad. It actually protects us and does different things that it can help us to move forward and have that focus, right? But it can be misplaced and we can put so much pressure on some situations and things. But the more we talk about that and educate people, I always say this: teach people how to treat you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you can't teach people how to treat you, then you leave for them to come up with their own area. And it's not that we have to be mean or nasty or oversharing. We just come from our area to say, hey, do you mind? I'd like to share this with you. And for me personally, who don't know my story, I taught in special education for 10 years. And so it came from every IEP and this and that and all the stuff that we dealt with, just to realize this. So when you're talking about those boundaries, absolutely there's boundaries for others. But guess what? Here's something that's beautiful. And I want to hear your part on this is there's boundaries for yourself. There's boundaries for yourself in that area.
Yeah.
To be honest with self as well, to sit with that posture to say, okay, how am I showing up for me beyond anybody else? But how am I showing up for me? Go ahead.
So the definition that I use when I discuss boundaries is boundaries are a protection of self. That is what their focus is. So even when you said there are boundaries for others, I don't necessarily take that phrase verbatim. Boundaries are, the analogy that I use all the time is the backyard fence. So the thing that I walk my clients through when I talk about boundaries is you have a fence around your backyard. Many of us do that live in the suburbs, right? And most people that have a backyard fence also have a gate on their fence. So just to give you a quick analogy here, you have the nosy neighbor. Everybody's got one. You got the nosy neighbor. They come and they're looking around and they're trying to look into your fence. And they say, hey, Sarah, how you doing? What's going on? You can say, hi, good to see you. But you keep them on the outside of the fence. Then you have your best friend that lives next door. And your best friend comes and they knock on the gate, but you are exhausted. You have no energy. The kids have been driving you wild. The dog's going crazy. Got everything going on. Best friend comes in. You might open the gate. Talk to them for a minute. Hey, what's going on? How you doing? They can see inside. They know kind of, sort of what's going on, but they're not in it with you. And then you close the gate. And then another day when you're feeling better, your best friend comes knocking on the gate and you let them in with open arms. Come on, come have a seat on the patio. We'll get some iced tea. We're going to just sit and chill. They're going to be in it with you. And understanding that those boundaries are a protection of self and you are the gatekeeper. You are the gatekeeper. So when we go back to that question about being a leader who struggles with mental health, deciding who each person is in that moment that you're interacting with, what they deserve or need to know, and deciding how you are doing that day. How are you doing that day? Right? So several years ago now at this point, my mom had passed away. And working in mental health, you have a lot of very caring coworkers. And every day when I came in for months, coworkers that I love dearly. How you doing? You okay? What's going on? Right? It got to be too much. And I would come home, and at the time my kids were little. They were only 2 and 4. And I would come home and I'd tell my husband, I'm going to the grocery store. I went to the grocery store a lot. And the reason I went to the grocery store a lot is we lived in a little small town at the time. And the grocery store clerk only wanted to make sure that I had my coupons. That's it. Little old lady, she was the only one that worked there full time. It was hilarious. She was a lovely lady, right? But I would walk in the door and she'd say, where are your boys? Did you bring your coupons? I gave you that coupon for the pasta last week. Did you bring the coupon? She never knew my mom died. I never told her that my mom died because I needed that break during that time. And so again, when we talk about being honest and being transparent, check in with self. Is this a time to be honest and transparent about it? Are you in that space where you can do it? And then making sure that the listener is somebody who is going to honor those boundaries.
I love it. I love it. And I think that we are saying some things on the heads and tails coin of that, because I think that it's always an opportunity for you to be honest, but honest again and oversharing is totally two different situations pertaining to that. Because I can be honest and say, yeah, I'm processing something, but I don't have to let you all the way into that inner circle area. So it's
Right.
not an area of me just saying, oh, this is the thing that really is super frustrating. Because on the coaching side that I deal with, even with the couples particularly. So what's going on? How are you? Is there anything wrong? No, I'm fine. No, we clearly know something is wrong,
Mm-hmm.
and this is causing tension, and this is not productive for the work environment. It's not productive for the home environment. What's wrong with saying, you know what? There are some things that I am processing at this moment in time. Just give me some time. I don't really want to deal with the details of it right now,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm okay. Again, that's the educational component to that area where you're right. You don't have to let everybody in. But sometimes leaving that area when you don't say anything, you set yourself up to be constantly bugged, constantly this, constantly that, because the natural mind is going to come and identify energy is you can feel this. You can feel when something is off. So we can sit there and say, hey, I'm great. Or you can say, you know what? I'm not, but I don't want to talk about that. Or I'm fine. That's the boundaries that we put up there, Patricia. And again, depending on who your temperament is, depending on where you are and whatever, like all those things come into play as it relates to you sharing from your isness and your expression and all those times. And you're right. I love that. There's times that I do detour drives because I don't want to be bothered. There's times when I'm in that area where I just want to be Christian. I don't want to be pastor. I don't want to be elder. I don't want to be coach. I don't want to be that. I just want to be me. And I have that inner circle of people in my life who I can just be me. But it takes discernment to go ahead and do that. So yes, we're saying in agreement, saying different perspectives, but saying the same thing, really communicating. It's not your job when you see the milkman to come from there and just be like pouring your, or Amazon man in this day, just sharing your whole entire story. No, some things are the inner circle. And for your inner circle aspect, it may be your therapist or your coach or your counselor or a very close friend, Sarah is sharing. And then also there's some people, like you said, who that their intent is not necessarily for your good. And they can take that and be a weapon. I've been a victim of that for social media. I've been a victim of those things. And that's that part where I think having that healthy team really can help us move forward and navigate this journey. And that's why we need the Sarahs in this world where you can go to that, see this content, see this way of thinking, and realize that it's okay. What you're feeling is valid. How you are operating, there is nothing wrong. I live from the mindset of nothing missing, nothing lacking, and nothing broken. Because there's a rare that whatever the creator, God, life, whatever you want to call it, designed us in this way. And now we just need to navigate it. And we have amazing team people who are skilled to help us navigate that. So let us encourage you in this health, in this area and way, to realize that, yes, put those boundaries up. And whether you got the gate in the back with the picket fence, or maybe you have an inner gate as well. When you realize that, it's a great place for us to go ahead and posture and be. So I love what you share, and I love that thought process. Tell me even how we can continue to move forward in the area of this leadership aspect, but also the area of the impact of positivity around some of these terms or the ignorance that goes on. For instance, I use this example. All right. So if I say the area of anxiety for me, and I've preached about, I deal with those things, right? There's so many variations of what that may look like in somebody's life. So for me, not to adapt it as a negative thing or fear that area of judgment in those terms, like what is it that I can do to keep I want to say my vibration, my energy at a positive state when I may feel like others are really just don't understand or they want to judge what it is that I'm processing and going through.
So before I clearly answer that, let me set up two definitions.
Thank you.
The first is a mental health condition. So the first definition being a mental health condition. If you have what people in the professional mental health world identify as a mental health condition, that means that a cluster of symptoms are impacting the way you think, feel, and behave across environments in a negative way at some rate of relative consistency.
Mhm.
Okay. Then we have mental health in the colloquial sense. Mental health is how we think, feel, and behave in environments. So if I am feeling tired, if I am feeling frustrated because I'm raising two teenagers and running two businesses at the same time, that is also my mental health, but it is not a mental health condition. And I think part of what we struggle with in this conversation when we are talking to folks who meet criteria for a mental health condition is that terms like anxiety, terms like depression, terms like OCD are used in a colloquial sense to mean one thing, and they are not the same definitions when we talk about a diagnosable mental health condition. So it is important that when folks are struggling with a mental health condition that is diagnosable and they are telling that story, I want to go back to your statement earlier of educate them how to support you. Let them know this is not, I like all my dollar bills in my wallet lined up a certain way. People will say, oh, I'm so OCD. I like all of my dollar bills to be facing the same way in my wallet. That isn't being OCD. That is definitely not. OCD can be completely debilitating. It can prevent people from being able to move into the next step of their day, right? Not even career, just their day, getting out of the house, right? So I think that that is something important when we are working within those parameters of having a mental health condition. Educate people around you. This is what I need. If that means that you need quiet space when you're working, put a sign on the door. Quiet, don't bother me. My phrase as a parent, if there's no blood, if there's no bones and no blood, don't bother me right now. I'm busy, right? So we can do something similar in the workplace, right?
Mhm.
If you are a leader and you are trying to develop a healthy workplace culture that makes it safe for others, then approaching them with curiosity. Approach your colleagues and your coworkers with curiosity. What is it that I can do that would best support you in this moment? What are the
Mm.
things that you need from me as your leader? Does that make sense?
100%. I love it. I think beautiful. It's beautiful. Just reminds me of that way too, teaching people how to treat you.
Yeah.
And it's different. It's not one way, Somebody may be watching and listening and say, well, I've done that. I've tried that, and it's well, the question is, like you said, we got to look within. Have we changed? Have we unfolded to a different place, or where we are right now? Is that where we were then? Because there's different facets, and this is, you remove mental health or anything. That's just talking about just daily life, right? Just the way that I woke up today and dealt with this or this bill or this phone call had place or this stress level took place, so forth and so on. And sometimes, I have to sit in there. So I love the area of the constant theme of education. I'm hearing the area of even, taking the time out for ourselves to really see where we are, because that's another thing too. Again, that honesty with self, just saying, hey, this is where I'm at. Like daily, I get up, I meditate, I pray, do what I need to do to make sure that I'm aligned, I'm divinely aligned, so that as I show up and express myself in the area of the world, then we're able to go with that. And then there's sometimes, I have the blessing and the sometimes I'll be in office, sometimes I'll be home. And that may depend too on where I am and what I'm handling. And again, communicating that to the team that I lead, hey, I will not be in today. I will be working from home. I will not be in office. Or I can get in a different area to say, you know what, this is where I need to be. However, this is what's going on. Here's the thing. I feel like in this day and time, everybody is going through something, Sarah.
Mhm.
Whether it's diagnosed or undiagnosed, somebody has something that they are processing and we don't know what it is. So why not try to create a working environment, a learning environment, a environment where everybody thrives? And
Mhm.
so that part of education, that part of being honest, that part of just really um, being still and being able to communicate that at the level that that we're comfortable with, I think is a true game changer. Sometimes we make things super deep and
Mhm.
it can be so simple as to, and I can remember even culturally, okay, this is not even beyond there. Culturally, I would go into a consult with something or work and do something, and I would have to say, hey, respectfully, you can't use that term.
Mhm.
Because if you now understand, and I'm not talking about black, white, that type of situation as well, it's just understanding different things and what they would mean. Even, with family, and people would say that, I don't even like to say in the area of words, this person is retarded or this person is that. Like, hey, we no longer use, it's always constantly educating each other as to what's going on as we need it. Or beyond it being culturally acceptable, what if it still hits your heart, or you were offended at that time and place? We can still educate people in love, in respect, and understanding. So thank you for the educational component. Some of us don't know the difference between this as being a professional aspect. We just know this is what I feel, this is what I'm experiencing, this is where I'm at. Help me help myself and help others to treat me so I can feel actually who I am.
And one of the things too that we honestly it loses slightly in this digital age. So right now you and I are on a video call together and there's going to be a little bit of this that is hard for our nervous systems to recognize. But there, if any of your listeners feel like doing the research, Stephen Porges has a theory called polyvagal theory. It is one of my favorites. And it talks about the impact of my nervous system communicating with your nervous system. I won't go into the whole thing because that's just
Mm.
for mental health geeks like me. But the thing to understand about it is that there is a nonverbal subconscious process that goes on between my nervous system and your nervous system. So the example that I give often is that greeter at the store. Okay, so for those of your listeners that are watching the video, I will try my best to verbally describe what I'm doing as well, but the video is a little bit better. Okay, so you walk into your big box store, we won't give any names, and you walk in, and the person at the door says, "Hello, thank you so much for coming." Right? So they're flat in their tone. They give you a smile, but the smile is very neutral. It looks like it was painted on. Okay. Versus you walk into the same store, different greeter, and they say, "Hello, thank you so much for coming today." Their smile reaches their eyes, their tone is up, they have more energy. When you interact with those two greeters, your nervous system reads them very differently. With the first
Hmm.
one, your nervous system goes, nope, not a safe person. I'm not even going to ask them where the milk is. Not doing it. They're not safe. They don't want to be here. I don't want to do it. With the second person, your nervous system reads it differently. And they go, oh, hey, if I don't know where the milk is, I can ask that person.
Mhm.
Okay. So understanding that there is a subconscious level of communication between nervous systems. So the reason I mention that is going back to informing your work environment when maybe your symptoms are a little off. So I like that, Christian, you were saying you'll call your staff and say, "Hey, I'm not coming in today." But if you're in the office and you're a little off, you've got a lot of high energy, you've got a big personality that performs a lot, but you're going to be having off days.
Absolutely.
And so, what we don't want to do is we don't want their nervous systems to then interpret your off day as being, "I'm mad at you."
So good. So good. So
Right?
good. So
So
good.
that's where we have to verbalize. We have to say, "Hey, just so you know, you guys, I'm having an off day today. Boundaries. I don't have to tell you why. I'm just telling you I'm having an off day today. Right? I may not respond so quickly. In my clinic, as a clinician, my job is to be fully present. And I remind my clients all the time, I am a human being. And so if my husband is out of town for work, my phone is buzzing, I am constantly distracted because I know he's the point of contact for emergencies. But if he's out of town, then it switches to me. So when the phone buzzes, my first instinct is, uh-oh, what's going on with the kids? Are they okay? Right?
Yeah.
So I tell my clients when he goes out of town, I start my sessions that way. I said, hey, I'm just letting you know, today I'm a little off. I'm a little distracted. If my phone keeps buzzing, I'm going to have to look at it today.
Yeah.
Because I got to know if my kids are okay.
Yeah.
Right?
I love it.
So that's what I talk about when I say we want to share and we want to share with boundaries. You don't have to share the whole story. They don't need to know where my husband went. They don't need to know that my kid is, gone off to do some tricky thing that they're going to break their neck on. They don't need to know any of that. They just need to know my system is feeling a little hyped today. I'm a little extra sensitive to the phone buzzing. That's all 100%. It needs to know.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Let's transition to, I'll say part 2 of the conversation when we're talking about leading others. Mm-hmm. And so let's go into the, I started with it a little bit. So we're talking about, the emerging leaders who are hiring. Okay. And I think when we met, I shared this with you. And again, for HIPAA reasons and everything else, I won't get into the whole situation, but I'll say that a part of what I do on a part-time basis, I hire and also fire or release. I like to say release them to something different. Okay.
Give them other opportunities.
Give them other opportunities. And so with that being said, when it comes to the, those situations when somebody may share, hey, I do have this diagnosis. I do have this going on. For me, I've taken time to learn. Mm-hmm. I've taken time with the coaching me. But not everybody does that. And we're talking about trying to create this environment safe for everybody. Mm-hmm. So what would you say now to that hiring, that leader, that CEO, that manager, whoever it is? Again, maybe they came to you and told you something the employee did, or maybe they didn't. But you sense, like you said, your nervous system, for me, your spirit, your heart, your mind, you feel like there's something, your vibration, you feel like something's there. But how do you advise them to handle that situation? Should they come in there and just ask questions? Should they, what can kind of make that safe? What can they do for their employees?
I love that question. I love that question because it is a very practical, simple solution. The first one is know your bias. And the second part is to approach with curiosity. So when I say know your bias, all of us have biases. I'm sorry, you cannot be honest and say you are not biased in any way, shape, or form. So know what your biases are and check them. Hey, I'm assuming that XYZ, right? So know your biases and then approach with curiosity. So when I approach with curiosity, I am going to, if they've said to me directly, I struggle with generalized anxiety disorder, and it's really hard for me to get myself moving and get in here to the office by 8:00. Excellent. First thing, thank you so much for trusting me with that. I know that was really difficult. In what way can I be best supportive of you? And then you will offer solutions that work best for your work environment. So that might be, okay, if 8:00 is not really working for you because of traffic and we're in the city and that's really difficult for you, would a 9:00 start time be better? You would need to continue work until 6 instead of getting off at 5. We could do something like that. Would you like me to shift the way that your deadlines are set up? I can give you projects instead of time frames. You need to complete this project versus you have to get things done by this time, right? Ooh. So we can shift what the expectations are, right? Now, you need to cater those to your work environment. So one of the pushbacks that I get sometimes from leaders is, well, you're telling me that I should just give everybody a pass and tell them not to be productive. That isn't at all. That isn't at all what I am saying. I expect somebody, if they're coming to work, for them to work. I am not asking you to hold their hand and give them a crayon. We're not asking that. Okay. What I want them to be able to do is to move and flex a little bit in the ways that help them to function the best. Now, you can give them some suggestions, but you always follow it up with what were some of the ideas that you had? Because, as you said earlier, everybody has their own symptoms that impact them in their own way. So even if you are well educated in general anxiety disorder, you don't know how person A is different than person B in their functioning. And so you ask them, what is it that you would like to do? And that person may say, you know what, I can do 8:30. If you can just give me that window of time. I know here, I always laugh. I try to get out of my office by 5 till 5 because at 5 after 5, it takes me an extra 15 minutes to get home. It's crazy, right? So if somebody says, well, you know what, I can't really get here by 8 with my anxiety, but I could do 8:30. That's all you're asking for? To come in 30 minutes later? First meeting of the day is until 9. Works for me.
I love it. I love it. Can I interrupt you just because you're saying something that really is just super helpful? I did not expect you to say what you said, and you said it, and I love it because I was thinking it, but I was like, okay, or I was going to ask, I was going to push back. But you said it, and that was, and I might not say it exactly how you said it, so you feel free to cut it and correct me, but basically what I'm interpreting is, hey, as the hiring manager, person, or CEO, whatever the case may be, is you're offering the flexibility, but what's good for the organization. And so I feel like that's the part too, again, and this might just be the feeler in me, the empath, all those things where I have had to just struggle because I'm like, look, first off, I don't want this to be an HR situation. Second off, I don't want to deal with this, whatever the case may be. However, this is what the organization needs. This is the flexibility, good, but then you find yourself sometimes in a place where it's just like, well, what do you need? Okay. You need more. Well, where is that? Here we go. That boundary. Here it goes again. Our themes keep coming up. That boundary
is my favorite word.
Right. That boundary to set and kind of say, hey, look, okay, here's where we are. Yes, we can start at 9 and that's good. But this is, like you said, what we're going to need to be done. So it's not that you're getting a pass or a crayon, so to speak, to work at a different level. No. The work needs to be done. And people who've worked with me, for me, so forth, they know I'm so not a micromanager. I just want the work to be done and to move forward within it. And now if work is not done, then I ask a lot more questions. Mm-hmm. And I think you're helping to set goals as well, or intentions, and include whoever it is. This is a team. It's not just you by yourself. I'm not just telling you what to do. It's us coming together to get that, again, in my mind, that IEP, that individual educational program together, so that you can be successful in all that you do, but also the organization can benefit from your genius. Mm-hmm. So what we want to do is really make sure that we can do whatever needs to be done so that can take place. And you just help me with articulating what I've been trying to say, like, how do we, but it's really, I have to think about the whole organization. It's not just you are one puzzle piece to this beautiful puzzle. So thank you.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. And you nailed it. I mean, it is, like I said, my take home always is people want to work. They just might need to work differently. And one of the beautiful illustrations that I had was, like a lot of the world, honestly, is when we went through the pandemic, there was a lot of shifting for a lot of folks. And my children are not homeschool children. Woo, they are not homeschool children. But for an entire academic year, they were homeschool children. And my youngest struggles with a diagnosis of ADHD and the related symptoms. And I set him up in our dining room with a laptop, with chairs. He had 6 chairs to choose from. The child stood every single day for an entire day.
Wow.
Did not sit down. He kept his feet moving the whole time. I think it was probably one of his best academic years ever. And it had nothing to do with the education he was receiving. His educators were great. We were in a school district that all the teachers kept their jobs and just taught remotely for that year. But he didn't have to worry about sitting in a seat. He didn't have to worry about staying still. He didn't have to worry about whether or not he felt like singing while the teacher was talking. He could do all the things that his little ADHD brain wanted him to do in the moment, and nobody was fussing at him. And he got all of his work done.
Oh, I love it.
So if we take that to the workplace, right? Do you offer the availability for your employees to have an elevated keyboard? Can they stand at their desk instead of sitting? Go on Amazon, you can get one for $20, right? But if the workplace culture says, oh, we don't do that,
Right.
then you're stigmatizing.
Oh, that's so good. Oh,
Right?
that's so good.
So why are we continuing to do stigmatizing behaviors when all people are doing is just adapting to their environment? I don't understand it. Why can't we look at each employee and say, you as an individual, how can you work best in this environment to meet the company's goals? That's where you get employee buy-in.
Oh, that's so good. Listen, Elevation Nation, if you go back, rewind that part, write that down, take some notes, do whatever needs to be done, because that is gold, with Sarah. Just share it with us. And I am so honored, even with this. Look, I believe we could talk and talk and talk. But I do want Elevation Nation to be able to connect with you and your socials. Could you please let us know where we can find you online, your website, if you have any books? Let us know.
I would. So I am very active on LinkedIn. You can find me in LinkedIn under Sarah Harris. I also have a website of sarahharrisspeaks.com. And as I shared with Christian in our pre-interview, there is a book pending this fall called The Culture Garden, A Leader's Guide to Growing a Thriving Workplace from the Ground Up. And that will be available on Amazon this fall. So I'm getting really excited about all of those things.
Oh, absolutely. And you should. And we are celebrating this book that is within you, and that is being written. So Elevation Nation, what I want you to do is the links will be in the area of the description. And so make sure that you are following Sarah on social, as well as if she has an email list or anything to sign up for, so that you can be notified when this book is released, because this is what we need in this day and this time. And as you know, we want to equip you with so many tools that you have. And I always encourage you, don't just read alone. When you find something good, share it with somebody. Okay. So share this episode with somebody else. If you haven't subscribed, this is your opportunity to go ahead and subscribe to this podcast as well. But I want you to be in tune and realizing that you have support. You are not alone in this journey. And Sarah Harris is here to even let you know and show you some ways to continue to move forward, because we want to change this thing around where there's less toxic work environments and there's more thriving ones. And you are a part of that equation in that place. So, Sarah, I always ask our guests to leave us with a word of empowerment that we can carry out with us throughout this week ahead. So please light us up and let us know what you want to leave us with from your heart that we can continue to carry with us.
I think that the two things that I would love for your listeners to leave this conversation with. Number one is model. Model the culture that you want in your workplace, right? So ask the questions, right? Take care of yourself, take the walks, take the lunch breaks, do the things that you need to do for your own mental health as the leader, so that then your employees will follow. And the second one is approach with curiosity. Nobody in this world expects you to know everything or understand everything or everybody. But everybody is interested in saying, talk to me about how I'm unique. Talk to me about the things that I need so that I can function best in this environment. So those are my two takeaways. Model the behavior and approach with curiosity.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Elevation Nation, you heard it here and you have it. All right. So let's continue to go ahead and model those things and continue to be all that we are. Sarah, thank you so much for sharing your journey, your voice, your work with us in Elevation Nation, our community. Thank you always for listening and tuning in. So again, if you haven't already subscribed, this is your opportunity to go also do so and to hit that button and to share this with somebody else. If you aren't always already connected to our Inner Elevation Weekly newsletter that is also on LinkedIn, don't forget to grab your copy of When Speaking But Still Silent on Amazon. And I didn't share with you, Elevation Nation, and I'm going to share this with you as well, Sarah. Feel free to participate in this. But on December 29th and 30th, there is something called the Goal Achievers Summit. And I am actually one of the speakers on the panel. It's in Orlando, Florida. And this is just really for the business-minded leaders, entrepreneurs, those who really take serious the goals that they desire to set and finish the year strong and want to move forward and to excellence into that year ahead. And so there will be links there as well if you have interest in those. But it's going to be an awesome time. And I just really believe that all of us can get in an environment where we can continue to goal set from presence, from strategy. I mean, we got everything from AI to sales systems, all types of stuff that will go ahead and be there. And so we're just excited about that as well. So make sure that you are, again, making sure that you are connected with Sarah. Make sure that you're connected with Sarah. Make sure that you are aligned with this message. And please, guys, do the inner work. Go back, listen to the parts that hit your heart, and make sure that you're writing those things down and sharing them and expressing them. Okay, so until next time, may good, great, and awesomeness continue to follow you and flow to you and through you all week long. You are amazing, and we wish nothing but greatness upon you. Blessings, and have a great week.